From the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased to have with me Chris, joining me from the US. Chris, thank you very much for joining me today. Usually, I like my guests to introduce themselves because, it's the best way I believe someone can introduce himself or herself. So the floor is yours, Chris.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. I'm Chris Barkhurst. I'm the CEO of BBCE. We are I guess you could say we are the parent company of BarkyAI, which is a virtual call center agent product that's pretty much blowing away the call center world in the United States right now, as well as abroad. We are also the parent company of Benson Lloyd Card Grading Company, which is disrupting the card grading market as we know it. It's taken over. So we are very proud of our two products right now.
Great. And thank you for your time today on the show, Chris. So, the first thing usually I by curiosity, I ask, like, what brought you in, the area of AI, especially with BarkyAI, and how did you envision its impact, when you decided to start it?
Certainly, that's a great question. Well, we started BBCE about in around 2015, and originally we started as a consulting company, and where we went into businesses to help optimize their processes and help innovate with ideas. And at about that time is when was when GPT-2 that open source came out, and in about 2016 or so is when we started really taking GPT-2 and forming that into a product to help with project creation and project leaders and stuff like that. And what that really basically started with was we would put in a bunch of information about the project. Who was the stakeholders? What was some of the project code? Who do you go to for this? Who do you go to for that? So people could rudimentarily use that as a knowledge base and just use that as a real time. I have a question about X. Who do I go to see for Y? And GPT-2 was able to answer those rudimentary questions through its library. So from there, we were able to, basically come up with the skeleton of what Barky is today, which is that AI system. So that's how we got into it. Then, more and more companies wanted it. So we wanted to more and more companies with this product. So that's kind of how we got into AI. And then we grew with our AI engineers, and they came up with better tools, how to hone Barky. And then finally GPT 2.5 came out. And then finally, this past year on GPT 3.5 or ChatGPT came out. All of our past clients are like, why are people using this? We've been using this for the past 3 or 4 years. And we're like, I don't know. Well, that's great. So we were able to be on top of that already.
Great. So you were kind of pioneering that area. Did when ChatGPT came out to the public, did that affected the way I would say how you would plan who would be your ultimate customer? that did that do something, that forced you to change your strategy, or like because you were previously in the game, I would say. So, you just said, okay, fine, like this is another maybe tool in the market that people can use. So how this, the chat GPT appears at the end of last year affected, the strategy of your company?
Well, that's a great question, and how we answer that is when ChatGPT came out, it was such a great product because it took the GPT 3.5 library and it made it public to the masses. And when you make anything public to millions of people will bring their ideas to the table and show uh, what something can actually do and push it to its limits. So when we were using just GPT-2 or 2.5, or even 3 for that matter, when it was released, we were only giving it to a select few, 100, 1,000 people at a time. So we were just using it for tech-based products. How do we do this? How do we do that? And then when you give it to a massive amount of people, like what OpenAI did, and gave it to them and started saying, um, you know, write a book like a pirate. We never thought of that. You know,
Hmm.
that had that capability. We just knew that about, how we could do it for coding and how we could do it for answer this question as a chatbot and stuff like that. So we took that information, what the public did, and we took it a step further. We said, okay, we now know it can do this. Now, what can Barky do now to get ahead of the tech curve? So we went back to our roots, and I have 20 plus years of call center experience before I was a consultant. And I said, well, there's definitely a gap in the marketplace where people call up and there's and they hate waiting on hold, because whenever I was consulting and I ever had a problem with my VPN or problem with my password, I would have to call the help desk, and the help desk would, always put me on hold for 20, 30 minutes. And I hated that. And I said, it would be great if I could just call somebody for a technical or entry level technical question and just have somebody pick up the first time I ask the question, it just do it for me in the back end and be done with it. And my AI engineers said, like, yeah, you know what? With the current state of AI, we can do that with our tools and stuff. So that's how we developed BarkyAI. We developed an internal system which allowed us to do speech to text and text to speech relatively fast. And then we went to one of our call center partners and we said, hey, we have this new tool. Can we put it into testing with you? And they said, sure, please, by all means, here's a client. Let's do it. And we took over 500,000 phone calls for them and they loved it. It was amazing. So we said, hey, let's bring this to market.
Great. So, and I'm asking you this, Chris, to also kind as a maybe guide us, and I will ask you at the end about your thoughts for fellow entrepreneurs. But for now, do you think because you narrowed down the problem, and you narrowed down who is your ultimate customers that will benefit from AI, this uh, you know contributed to the success of Barky AI?
And yeah, I would say that, you know, we narrowed it down through the possibility of not just who our ultimate customer was, because at the end of the day, we want everybody to be our ultimate customer. Because personally, as an individual consumer, as just a baseline consumer, I use Barky AI as my voicemail. I know
Hmm.
Apple has a great voicemail platform right now where you can actually see the voicemail as it comes in and you can see it transcribed in real time. But personally, I use Barky AI as a voicemail tool. So when somebody calls me, it will actually um, have an entire conversation with the caller. So, for example, I had a doctor's nurse call me yesterday, and she had to uh, reschedule an appointment I had, and Barky AI took care of that from the front, from very beginning of the phone call to the end of the phone call by checking my schedule, by checking my calendar, saying, yeah, we can take care of that between 2 and 3. And then at the end of the phone call, sent me a text message, sent me a calendar invite, took care of all that. So at the end of the day, I mean, BarkyAI has a ability to have everybody be a customer of it, not just a corporate client. But what really set BarkyAI apart from anybody else was that we were able to be ahead of the curve. And when we were able to do that is not being such a large corporation. Like you see so many corporations being so large, and we are so small and so nimble that I give my engineers, I give my developers free reign to say, hey, I see this change of direction. Let's go for it. Let's, instead of being a big cruise ship trying to turn around, let's be a small kayak that we can turn around and I've had faith in them. I trust them. And if we mess up, hey, no problem at all. We can erase it and fix it tomorrow. So, we made some slip ups in the past, and we've owned up to them, and we said we're sorry, and we've made it better. So that's how we were able to do it.
Yeah, great insights from you, Chris. Now, when I was preparing, something caught my eyes. Like, actually, it's not like you currently leading the company, but also you have the technical background, and you have the knowledge of how these frameworks work in the back end. So a lot of people come sometimes to me because an AI enthusiast, I can call myself, right? Like, I know the high level behind, but how easy it is today to get into this field. And because I've seen, you work on not only the frameworks of OpenAI, whether it's the DALI 2, and now they have DALI 3, Whisper, and GPT 3.5, but also there is the back end part of it, like Python and the database, data lakes, and all this. So now, if someone, Chris, want to start in this career, right? Do you think they have to go from the basics, or because of the AI today, actually they can start from a more up level and get into the game more easy?
Oh, definitely. You can definitely get into the AI space relatively easy. There are tutorials everywhere on YouTube, on the internet as a whole, just through the academic storefronts and whatnot, that you could take within a few days and get a great understanding. There's a couple of YouTubers that I recommend following that you can get into, and they show you front to back, step one to step end, how to create an LLM, how to make it so that you can oh god, the term just left my mind, but you can parallelize it with other LLMs to basically have more LLMs running in parallel with each other, and then and you're able to get that set up in less than an hour. And then if you have that, you can add in image generation on top of that, and then the world is yours after that. You get those basic concepts down, and you figure out how do I flip that? How do I pivot that into something that nobody else has done? And then if you figure how to do that and make a website out of that. I know that sounds like it's like a huge thing, but there's website tutorials, and there's easy to build websites that are already made for you. You just have to do some plug and play, and you find somebody who's crazy enough to get along with you on this journey. And for just a minimal fee of just, heck, I think if you go with AWS or Azure, they give you money. They give you start, they say you get so many credits for free, and you can just use that initial credit put it on TikTok for it's like, look at this new thing, and get people go to it. You probably have something going on in about a week or two, and then you have a huge thing going on. Personally, myself, when I hire developers or I hire AI engineers,
Mhm.
I don't look for people who have 15, 10 years experience. I'm looking for people with passion. I'm looking for people who have that drive and who have that I want to learn mentality. So when people come in and they say, well, I tell them that we use AWS, we use this type of image generation, we use this and that. And they say, well, I don't know it. I say, that's perfect. I don't want you to know it. I want you to learn on the job, because when you learn on the job, that's what makes you better.
Right.
And, because we could train anybody. You can train anybody to do anything. You can train anybody to code, but when you hire people who have that experience, they're kind of trenched into, this is the way we do it. This is the only way to do it. So that's the point I'm trying to drive to, is that, anybody who wants to learn how to do this, anybody who's new, anybody who wants to know how to do AI, there's incredible YouTubers like Nicholas Vernat, Tech with Tim. There are a couple of people off the top of my head,
Mhm.
teach you how to do this stuff. And in just a week, maybe 2 weeks, you can have something off the ground ready to go.
Yeah, it's that a great one. And actually, I was reading a book today by one of my guests. He sent me the copy, Zach Ratner, and he mentioned something similar when he was starting, his company, and he wanted to hire his first, web developer actually. So he hired someone with a background which is not technical, but she just attended a coding boot camp, and he saw this ambition and the passion. So and I love these approaches because it's also giving the some people who are talented the chance to show that they can do the job maybe better than, as you said, someone who had like maybe 10, 15 experience. So it's like about the attitude, as you mentioned, Chris, and I love this approach. Now, again, one thing that I saw in your bio is about using AI for counterfeit proof systems. And this caught my eye because I have also like passion to see how AI can solve different problems, and want to hear from you like how you leverage AI in this use case.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my other company that we have going on is Vincent Lloyd Card Grading Company, and trading cards. If you may or may not know, has grown significantly since the pandemic. It's a multi-billion-dollar a year business, and
Hmm.
whenever you have a growing business like that or a growing trend like that, it's bound to um, have counterfeits or bad actors come in with counterfeit or spoof cards. Um, one of the number one draft pick, Victor Wembanyama, his rookie card is the most counterfeit card out there. There's estimates that 17% of all of his draft cards are counterfeit.
Mm.
And so when you are a buyer and you want to buy one of his rookie cards, and you're going on eBay or you're going to a trade show, these counterfeit cards are so good because the printing is so good nowadays that you don't know if it's a counterfeit card or not. And you had to buy from a reputable seller, and even that reputable seller might be hoodwinked. You don't know. I'm not saying that they all are, but you don't know. And we have found out because we've actually taken interviews with former card graders who work with the major card grading um, companies, and we've asked them, like, can you tell us about what you've done in the past? And they've told us some secrets about what has gone on in the back rooms and stuff. And it's horrifying to hear about how card grading has really become more of a money making operation than than um something for the hobbyists, something for the investors. It's shocking. I'm a card collector myself. I've been collecting cards for quite some time, and I want to be assured that when I get a card, it's a not a counterfeit card. So what we've done at BBCE and Vincent Lloyd Cardgrade is we actually developed an AI that will actually take basically a microscope that's at 2,000 times magnification, a picture of your card, and this is the magnification of looking at an ant's leg from a football field away.
Wow.
That's the magnification we're looking at a card. And if you think about a card, it's about, yay big. I mean, I've got one right here. It's about yay big. And you look at this card with a 200,000 magnification. We take a picture of it, and then we store it. And when you store that card, you're looking at all the bumps, all the imperfections, all the scratches, all the little nooks and crannies that you can't see with the naked eye. And then we look at, we also have a laser that takes the laser grid at it and measures it from top to bottom, side to side, and takes a topographical image of it. And then we also have a spectrometer that measures it as well to see what kind of, the type of paper it was printed on and the color vibrancy it was printed with. And then we take all those factors and measure them with an actual card that was printed from Topps or Panini or et cetera. And then we see if that's a counterfeit card or not with all those factors put in together. And then we store that card digitally in the cloud with all those factors. And we also imprint that into a microchip. It's a patent pending microchip that's embedded into the label of the card.
Mm-hmm.
So when that card is encased in a slab, I have one right over here. So that card is encased in a slab right here like this. You can't see it, but embedded in this label right here, you will have that topographical, that magnification, and that spectrometer information embedded in this card. So if somebody tried to swap this card for another card, for like a counterfeit card, you can't, because we take this card out, measure that test again, and see if there's a scratch over here on the counterfeit card. If not, that card was switched. Cool. And then back to your counterfeit tools you're talking about. This slab right here, this is a promo slab right here. But on our slabs that we give to the public, this slab here has over 15 anti-counterfeit measures that rival the U.S. Mint. So we actually have a person that who used to work for the U.S. Mint, who helped consult us on creating ways to protect these cards from counterfeit and these labels from being counterfeit. So we protect these more than the U.S. Mint protects their dollar bills in some ways.
Wow, that's really a great use case for using AI, especially, and I think it's only about cards. Maybe it can be applied to to different things also as well. I get hooked actually by this. Now, like shifting from talking about the technology to a little bit the business side. So I know for BCE, you achieved incredible growth, and you didn't rely heavily on marketing on social media, right? So can you share the philosophy behind this approach that you took?
Yeah, it's quite amazing when we talk to people. When we started off with the consulting side, my first client was somebody I met through work, and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Would you be interested? And they said, yeah, I'll hire you. And then one thing led to another, and he referred me to somebody else. And then one thing led to another, and they referred me to two other clients. Then I said, okay, this is getting too big. I need to hire somebody else. And then that person I hired was too good. And then we got 8 other clients. And then I never needed to rely on social media because it was all word of mouth. So we never had a social media page. We never had a website. It was just all word of mouth. You had to know somebody to know somebody. So whenever somebody said, "Hey, I needed somebody to help optimize my business. I needed somebody to help make me successful," somebody said, "Well, you need to talk to Chris at BBCE." And then once we developed Barky, how that started going was that we had a client using Barky, and one of their vendors came in and said, "What's this tool?" And they said, "Oh, this is Barky." "Well, who developed it for you?" "Oh, it was Barky. It was Chris at BBCE." "Well, we want this tool." "Well, here's his information." And then it's kind of grew like wildfire from that. So we never really had the need for a website. We just wanted it to be kind of just very much, you have to know a guy to know a guy. Because we wanted to keep it very, we didn't want to grow too fast, too quickly. And then the same thing with BarkyAI when we came up with that, because we didn't want BarkyAI to fall under bad actors. Because if you understand the power that it had, and we demonstrated it to some people of what it could do if it fell under bad actors, we want to vet these people who buy a license of BarkyAI and make sure that they're using it for good and not evil. You can do some wild things with it. So we want to make sure we vet them and not just sell it to anybody who buys it. So we want to make sure that we vet it and make sure that everybody who buys the license is using it for its intended purposes, not just for willy-nilly stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but for Vincent Lloyd, we were active in the card collecting community, as I've said earlier, and I just showed it to a friend of mine, and I'm like, "Hey, we developed this. What do you think of it?" It was just a passing thing, and he's like, "I love it." And then he accidentally showed one of his friends, and he showed one of his friends, and all of a sudden we have 50 people in a private alpha, and that private alpha got leaked onto the internet. And all of a sudden somebody showed it on TikTok, and then our private alpha URL got leaked. And all of a sudden we had, 1,500, 2,000 people sending me cards. So now my wife has all these boxes in our living room full of trading cards. And I'm like, okay, well, I think we got our answer if this is going to be good for the market or not.
Wow, that's fascinating, actually. And sometimes, I have this belief that if you're doing something really good, outstanding, and to not be misunderstood by anyone, each one has his own or her own use cases. But I believe, in this organic growth and word of mouth and, like getting referrals, sometimes it's much worse to spend maybe some time. And this is why I want to ask you here, Chris, like, you talk a lot about being customer centric. So how important to be customer centric, and be able to satisfy your customers so they would refer you to other people, to other companies to have your service.
Well, this answer may surprise you because we don't think of ourselves as customer centric. We think of ourselves as employee centric. We think of our I don't call them employees, I call them team members. We think of our team members first and foremost, and they are so happy with what they do. We believe in a 32-hour work week. When I was talking to one of our team members yesterday, because we had Monday off, and I'm like, I think we get 32 paid days off a year, with all the holidays, and we get like coming in April, we get like your whatever you work at. Like if you work in New York, you get the Yankees home opener off, or you get like for me, I work at Kansas City, so I get the Kansas City home opener off. You get that off, and you get all these little fun holidays off, and you have 4 weeks paid vacation off mandatory, plus unlimited paid time off as well. So we really see ourselves as employee centric, and that really creates a fever. And when that you create that fever, it really um, trickles down to the customers. So, like with our customer service department, they really have that fire and that energy to go above and beyond to help our customers because they know that, hey, um, I want to help this customer solve their problem at the very first call, the very first instance. And our business development people really want to find the best solution for them, so they can really just solve their problem at the very onset. So this causes that fever, and then um, when your customers see that how energetic your employees are with your company or your organization, they get swept up in it as well, and they become an advocate of yours, and then that that uh that just causes more and more of that rush of adrenaline. So they go to their friends and their colleagues and they say, "You got to check these guys out at Barky. You got to check these guys out at BBCE. These guys got something going on." And then we have all of a sudden we have this huge influx of people that we don't know what to do with because there's so many people that want to say we want more and more and more. So it's quite the feeling.
100%. And I think, it's crucial because if the team members and teammates are happy, this will make definitely the customers happy because, they will, they will be eager to serve at the best. So 100% on this. Now, I know, like, I was, as preparing, and I love to go and check, some stuff that, might trigger. So you appeared on some podcasts before, and I've seen, like, some of them, they created a lot of buzz. So did that, also help in spreading, the word about BBC and Barky?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cause earlier, but I appeared on this I've appeared on this past podcast, and you know, a lot of people went and listened to it, and it drove a lot of attention to it and to the Barky name and to my social media channels, and it created a lot of interesting dilemmas for me because um not to be boastful or anything like that, but my personal TikTok channel got a lot of attention because a lot of people wanted more and more content from me, and I'm not a content creator by any means, so I have to figure some way to outsource that. But regardless of that, um, but you know, that last podcast there became his number one podcast that was ever listened to. So hopefully it's the same thing for you soon. But you know, um, I work, you know, when people hear that, when my clients and my customers hear or my team members hear that Barky is being talked about, or when Benson Lloyd is being talked about, or BBCE is being talked about, it people want to know what's coming up, what's new, what's being teased, what they're going to do next. You know, they always want to know what's the next thing over the bridge because we come out with some innovation. It's kind of like when Apple does their podcast event, or not their podcast event, excuse me, where they're doing their iPhone reveal or their iOS reveal. They always want to know what's going to be said, what they're going to reveal. So they always want to know what's that next thing, what's that next thing. So they always show up to listen to see, now what can we break? Well, what can we do? So a lot of people show up to hear.
Great. Yeah. Hopefully, same thing will happen. Actually, I had these moments. So the appearance of some guests, usually, like, it's for me, it's like the graph looks like this, and all of a sudden, like, it goes up because we talked about something provoking or maybe a technology that they were interested in. So let's see. Nevertheless, yeah, for me, Chris, just for you to know, and I mentioned this during the podcast, like, I do this to inspire as much people as I can. And for me, if even one listener or someone, if he's watching or she's watching, they get inspired by my guests and what we discuss and the conversation, I'm more than happy. If that goes viral, okay, that's cherry on top, right? So this is the way I love to see it. Now, Chris, because you are, we talked about the AI, I'm bringing you back, but just to talk now about future trends and how you are seeing the future, whether it's for what you do currently with Barky and the BBCE, and the AI in general. So, what trends we are seeing to happen in the near and mid future? Because I don't like about to ask very long in the future, because this is something it becomes like guessing, I would say.
Yeah, what I'm saying near and near future is people being more wary of what is real and what is AI. Because we've recently had the Mr. Beast scandal. I don't know if you heard
Hmm.
about that, but yeah,
Yes.
somebody did a deep fake Mr. Beast, and they made an ad of him, and some people fell for that, unfortunately. So more and more people, or more and more bad actors will be doing that because they saw that was successful. And as AI becomes cheaper and cheaper to do, more and more people can do that. Um, so I mean, you're going to see AI get cheaper and more efficient, and so that's going to be easy to do. Um, that's why, as I mentioned before, that's why BarkyAI doesn't do a lot of promotion, because we have had some behind the door demonstrations of what BarkyAI could do from a bad actor standpoint, and we've actually had people say, "Wow, we cannot do this," um, because of the possibilities of what it could generate. So that's why we really vet people with Barky AI before we even let them have a license with it. Um, so I see that coming up as AI being used as a more of a bad actor than as a good actor. Um, but AI will continue to become cheaper and cheaper, more and more efficient. Um, I've seen a lot of people create social media using AI as a as an actor, as a sense, and generate huge followings of people just to gain clout. And
Hmm.
I can tell because we have tools behind the scenes to see if an AI image has been generated by AI or not. And we have seen these huge, um, Instagram accounts sprout up with, they have a pretty lady or a handsome man just generate, like, hey, here I am working out or whatever, just gain clout. And then what they'll do is they'll sell that Instagram account to another bad actor who will use it for a scam or something like that. So I see that as being a trend, unfortunately. Um, but that's what I see as, we need to, as a community, as a population, what we need to do is prepare ourselves and teach ourselves, how to recognize these um, swindlers, as I like to call them, and
Hmm.
not fall victim to that, and just prepare ourselves for what's ahead.
Yeah, and that would take, I agree with you, Chris, and that would take a lot of effort from people like you and me and others to educate people about, um, I would say spotting, these bad actors in action. It's a challenge, honestly, but I'm also optimistic because I believe AI will help us fighting this at the same time. So, finger crossed, I would say on that, but 100%. Uh, like this is, something as we come to an end, Chris. You've been in the industry for a long time enough, and you've seen it all. I would say from AI data, and you work on building teams, and because this show is targeted, it's called the CTO show. So of course, the audience are CTOs and people in tech, but also, we talk a lot of about entrepreneurship and starting up. So if you want to give advice for budding entrepreneurs looking to make the mark in the tech world, I would say, and maybe they are thinking to start or maybe they have just started. So, couple of, wisdom words from your side to them.
Oh my gosh. The the I had somebody come up to me, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and they asked me, they wanted to start an online business. They wanted to sell coffee mugs, and they were telling me, well, how do I sell coffee mugs? And they wanted to do a drop shipping business. And I said, well, first of all, there's millions of drop shipping businesses, so you have to find. Of course, the number one thing is to find your niche. And everybody hates that because I can't do that. Well, that's your thing. You got to be ahead of the curve, and everybody hates that too. They hate hearing that you have to be ahead of your curve and you have to find your niche. They hate that. And then they hate hearing that you have to have capital because nobody has money. And then not only that, but once you figure out how much capital you have to 10x it because it costs a lot of money to start a business because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I know that I made a lot of mistakes, and you'll find out who your true friends are and who will, stand behind you, who will stand next to you, and who will fall way behind you. And you'll meet new friends, and you'll meet new enemies, and you'll meet people that you can't stand, but you have to trust. And you'll meet people that you can't live without, but you have to sit with them. And it's just, starting a business is the hardest thing that you'll ever have to do. And you have to keep every day. You have to get up and grind. And you go back. And I was saying to myself, you go back to when you're in high school or in college, and you're sitting there in your the most boring class possible, and you just look at your watch. And you're like, man, I can't wait till I'm out of school. And then now you're out of school. Now you're an entrepreneur. You're like, man, I'm my own boss, and I hate it. I wish I could go back to college and be back bored. And it's just, but it's worth it because once you put in all the hard work, you get everything going, you get the engine going, you get everything turning. It's all worth it. And the last piece of advice I give is don't listen to any advice that anybody gives you either, because everybody will say that they're a guru. Everybody will say that they know what they're talking about. And at the end of the day, nobody knows what they're talking about. Everybody's path is different. My path is different than yours. Your path is different than mine. Some people get it the easy way. Those people are lucky. Some people have to fight tooth and nail, and those people are unlucky. And that's just what life is. My path was more difficult, and it sucked. Some people just get a spark and they get it right away. Those people are lucky, and that's the way it is. And some people will charge you, thousands and thousands of dollars to tell you how lucky it is to be like them. And that's just it. They're just going to tell you how lucky life is. And I can tell you right now that life is not lucky. It's going to be lucky for them because you're giving them $2,000. But don't listen to anybody. Just listen to yourself, listen to your heart, read books, and don't listen to any advice. Just figure it out.
Wow, I love this, Chris. And I think I don't know what's the verb now, but I put it on Twitter because I put such things on X or Twitter. And I wrote, if someone is telling you, pay me money to become X, Y, or Z, probably you are being scammed. I mean, not scammed in the bad way, maybe, but you cannot become a copy of someone else. And if you think, like I'll take this course and I will become Chris, or I'll take this course, I'll become Mehmet, that doesn't work this way. I felt this trap when I was younger, and I figured out no, like every person, because we are living in a multi-dimensional world, and I believe in this, a bit philosophical, I would say. You are in a particular place, particular time, particular situation around you. You cannot be similar to someone else. Like you can learn from their methodologies, maybe you can learn from their mistake that they share, but you cannot become them. So I love this, Chris. Chris, where people can find more about you and your businesses?
Well, we do have a website for BarkyAI. It's downloadbarky.com. You can download our app from there. You can find me on LinkedIn at Chris Barkhurst. And you can always email me at ceo@barkyai.com.
Great. I will make sure I will put this information in the show note. Chris, anything that I should have asked or I should have, discussed with you today?
Well, one thing that we do have coming up, and this is the big tease that everybody's looking for, is that I have a college roommate and we always have these text messages going back and forth about what if scenarios. And they always deal with these off topic things. And one of the things that we always do during our meetings, when we ever have a meeting with Barky or with Vincent Lloyd, is to start with a really off topic question. And people always say it would be really nice to hear what would happen if we had a full 30 to 45-minute discussion about these what if questions. So my buddy Tim and I decided to have this little, I don't want to promote it on here, but it's a little bitty mini podcast, if you will, called the Beaver and Otter Show. And it's nothing big. It's not a business of any sort. But we're going to intertwine it with some AI guests. So we've done that in the past, where we actually went on Twitch with 2 AI characters and had them intermingle with one another. And so we're going to bring on like Shrek, for example, and have Shrek be a guest. We're going to bring on, Darth Vader and have him be a guest, and just, use the BarkyAI engine and just do that and see what happens. And it might just go 3 shows and be a flop, but the fans of Barky always want content, and they always want to hear stuff. And Tim and I, we were in a comedy troupe back in college, and we're friends for over 25 plus years now. We talk daily, so it's not you probably, like I said, probably go 3 episodes and flop. So we'll see about that. But that's the big thing that we're teasing. No new company yet. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, good luck with that. Actually, I had this thought because before I shifted my podcast to a interview format, I was doing solo episodes, and I started in Jan, and when Bart came out, I had an idea of bringing ChatGPT, using, of course, like something like 11 Slab or something, and Bart, and let them ask each other's questions. But then I felt the idea, I don't know like how to do it, but yeah, it's a nice idea actually. So a good one to learn about it. You're working on it, Chris. Well, Chris, the time flew really, like your conversation was really insightful. A lot of information and useful hints, especially regarding how to start with AI, and how to build the business, how to rely on employee first mentality. And we talked also about the entrepreneurs and how they should figure it by themselves. So really a lot of insights in today's episode. Thank you very much for sharing that with us today. And as usual, this is how I end my episodes. Like, guys, if you have any feedback, any recommendations, please let me know. I'm enjoying reading your feedbacks, and I'm urging every episode not only to say like it's nice. Of course, I love to read these ones, compliments, but I love to hear some constructive feedback from you. If anything, any topic you want me to bring, maybe some stuff that you want me to change also as well in the podcast, I would love to hear that also from you. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.